we're saying he's dead, and then at the end of the movie, when these guys are all in trouble, because the locals are not happy with these Americans, what happens is the windstorm thing. It's actually these big black helicopters come and rescue. That's called magical realism. And there's stuff like that will happen in that one.
Well, she's writing, the characters are from this country, in this country. But that came originally from Southern American countries. So there's a lot about the turmoil in their life and their profession. But then, they've already met. The reason for which they start together. It's like the Three Stooges.
Well, maybe you should finish the book.
Oh, I finished it. I had done it. But I had discovered I had this and I would like to read it, but it's so tiny.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
But I'm starting with the, they don't have it.
That's not mine.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her uncle was the ex-president
Yes, yes,
Salvador Allende,
yes.
who was overthrown by Pinochet, the fascist.
And some of that's in
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure she wants to say that. But thanks for the offer, but I'm reading this book.
Well, you said that you got your book in your check and
Well,
you
but
could read.
the local or the close and stuff, I have to wear readers. And I made photographs.
It's okay to read that. She's my reader.
Yeah, you got one.
Oh, I understand.
But I'll get a big.
Am I supposed to be mine?
Probably get me a bigger.
I don't have enough mics to do you and Colin,
That's
but the
fine.
one on the front up there is on.
Yeah, and that's fine. I didn't think I would need one, but Joy finally did, so
Well, I don't have enough working mics to make that work.
that's fine.
Okay.
Because I'm not doing anything other than being behind.
Okay,
So
good.
we're good.
All right, thank you.
You are, well, I'm not picky.
Hey guys,
Hey, Terry.
Good morning. How are you guys?
doing well, I think. You?
Doing well, thank you. Good to see you.
So, here you, I think Sue said something at book club about Christmas Sunday, Christmas Day afternoon. You guys are inviting people to your home if they.
She's talked about it a little bit. I don't know if she had any plans.
Oh. Well, that sounds like our
Talk
house.
to her, yeah.
No, it's just that we have commitment that afternoon, so we have a lot of family here. So.
Yeah,
That's why you're here, right?
yeah.
In spite of the weather and everything else.
Yes, yes, in particular, everything else is right. But then coming from Nebraska, we had pretty much this.
Pretty much the same except for the wind.
Yeah, the wind is a little different here.
Yeah, I think it's getting worse. So enjoy the music.
Okay, I need to, did you give them a, announcement about,
No,
okay.
but Connie and Pat were mentioning that you invited people to the house on Wednesday.
Yeah, 2 to 5.
Okay.
I told you about that.
Well, you told me things, and I was never sure what the final analysis was. Chuck, how are you?
Happy
5.
solstice.
Happy and cold.
Huh?
Happy and cold?
What's
it's okay, not too bad.
Good.
It's been worse this week.
Yes. Was it Monday when the wind blew like all sin?
Yeah, and I think some yesterday and the day before.
Yeah, but Monday was the one I remembered because I was driving north in
You were driving what?
it. North,
North. Where'd you go?
Vermilion. I do that every couple times a week.
Oh, do you teach?
I don't teach, but I do. I work down there a little bit.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I wish I could teach. You know, I gave that up when I was 58. I better sit down.
That's a hard thing to give up.
Yeah, I miss it. But you know, I turned myself over to writing. I've got a third book, and Marge is editing, and I've got a fourth one started. So I've been, oh my God, sorry. Hello.
Thank you, Dan and Jacy, for that wonderful music. Okay, my name is Christy, and it's been a long time since I've done this, so. I just want to welcome you to today's service. We're grateful that you're here. Just want to let you know that if you're joining us for the first time, or you've been a member here for a long time, you are welcome here. We welcome you regardless. I've been very blessed to be a part of this church for a long time, and I'm so grateful. And I hope you all experience the same thing. So whatever questions you hold, whatever truths you seek, whatever sorrow you have known, whatever joy has filled your heart, whoever you are and whomever you are welcome here. So now we're going to go on to the announcements. Now there's a couple announcements in your program. One of the first is for the St. Francis House. We are gathering gently used coats, new coats, gloves, hats, and I think they're going to be bringing those over to St. Francis at the end of the year. So if you have anything, please feel free to throw it up in the box in the back. The other thing is, part of today's offer goes to there as well. And then the other thing is about, we will be having a celebration on Christmas Eve. We're going to have some cookies, Christmas cookie and cider party at 4:30 downstairs. And then we'll have a candlelight service at 5:30. And this will be on Christmas Eve, right after the cookie and cider party. And I believe Liz has an announcement.
Good morning. So I'm here to speak about the holiday appeal letter. Most people will be getting them in the mail, but I also have extra copies out in the lobby. And so every year, the church selects an organization, a nonprofit organization, and creates and asks for additional funds to support that organization.
Joy, tell them they were on in 1 week.
That couldn't have been staged better.
Anyway, so the board has selected the South Dakota Voices for Peace and their subsequent group called the Dream Coalition. South Dakota organization Voices for Peace helps local immigrant families with legal help and financial help and support people who are in dicey situations. They get help with that group. So I went to a meeting on Monday, and they asked several local people, organizations to speak in the front, and I've listed those: the Lutheran Social Services Office of Refugees, Wayne Venidos in Brookings, South Dakota Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Que Pasa, Connecting Cultures, and the Hub, and there's a few more that I didn't get. So they were asking everyone, there was probably about 100 people in the audience, and they asked them to be a part of one of 6 action teams. There was only 5 the night I went to the meeting, but they added an additional one. So the 6 action teams they're asking for community members to join is, the number 1 is multilingual news platform. They're going to provide accurate multilingual local news and immigration updates for people so that they get accurate information. Number 2 is the sanctuary movement, identifying possible sanctuary areas. Action item number 3, Know Your Rights campaign, so informing the impacted community members, neighbors, business and employees, school districts on what their rights are. Immigration family preparedness planning, identifying what is needed if a family member is deported. Community organizing, identify how we can organize communities to show up during the legislative session. As we know, that will probably happen. And then visual storytelling is the 6th. So in the meeting, they estimated that they're going to need about $250,000 a year to help do all of these things. So that's why we're asking to donate, donate money here, and then we'll hand it off to that organization for helping our immigrant family community here in town and in South Brook.
Thank you.
Do you have any?
Good morning, I'm Kevin. A quick item of interest I saw this morning, the Shabbat Jewish Center of South Dakota is having a Hanukkah celebration with Lego theme, a 7-foot Lego menorah and Lego craft for kids, latkes and donuts, epic gelt drop by the Sioux Falls Police Department using chocolate. Anyway, it is next Sunday, the 29th, 3:30 or so at the Alliance. And I also reposted this to the All Souls Facebook page, so you can find it there as well. Thank you.
Okay, I believe Joy and Paul are gonna.
Can I do an announcement real quick? Sorry. Pardon? Oh, okay, announcement? Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
No, I got you late. It's my fault. Hello, it's Bailey again. The mutual aid gathering is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. and I will be bringing a whole bunch of toys because my children have too many grandparents. We will be getting too many toys. So if you guys, if you have children who want to pick out toys for their friends, you can come along because everything's going to be free. Just please take my things. If you have things you want to give away too, I guess you can do that. And it's potluck style. Sometimes people just come in, get a plate of food and leave, and that's also okay. But mutual aid gathering tomorrow at 6 at the Calvary Lutheran Church. But it's on Facebook if you have that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Paul and Joy.
When blossoms flowered amid the snow on a winter night, was born the child, the Christmas rose, the King of love and light. The angels sang, the shepherds sang, the grateful earth rejoiced.
Beautiful. Okay, now we're gonna be lighting the chalice, and the chalice reading is number 448. And I'll go ahead and just read that correctly, okay? We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. And this is from Christine Robinson. Okay, now we're going to have our first song. It's going to be in the carol handout. And it's Come All Ye Faithful, Away in a Manger. And Deck the Halls in the First Noel. Committee number 649. And I'll read the regular print, and if you'll read the italics. From generation to generation, in a home which becomes a home, or in a house which becomes a home, one hands down and another takes up the heritage of mind and heart, laughter and tears, musings and deeds.
Love like a carefully loaded ship crosses the gulf between the generations.
Therefore, we do not neglect the ceremonies of our passage, when we wed, when we die, and when we are blessed with a child.
When we depart and when we return, when we plant and we harvest.
Let us bring up our children. It is not the place of some official to hand to them their heritage.
If others impart to our children our knowledge and ideals, they will lose all of us that is wordless and full of wonder.
Let us build memories in our children, lest they drag out children's lives, lest they allow treasures to be lost, because they have not been given the keys.
We live not by things, but by the meanings of things. It is needful to transmit the passwords from generation to generation.
Thank you. Now is Antoinette D. St. Exbury, and all of you like to come up, and if the children would like to come up for the story of all ages.
I'd love for some children to come up and join me. You can see the pictures, even if you feel a little singled out by. We have a few fewer children than I expected, but that's okay. We can do without.
We're just as excited.
So, this is a story called The Elves and the Shoemaker. Once upon a time, there was a poor shoemaker who lived with his wife. He made excellent shoes and worked diligently, but he could not earn enough to support him and his family. He became so poor that he could not even afford to buy the leather for his shoes. Finally, he had only enough leather to make one pair of shoes. He cut them out, and then he put them on the workbench. Then he went into his wife and he said, "Don't worry, things will work out for us. I will finish these shoes, and then someone will buy them, and we'll have enough money to buy some food." So here's a picture of the shoemaker with his wife. See the shoemaker and his wife? Well, the next morning, the shoemaker awoke early, and he went down to his workroom. On his bench, he found an exquisite, beautiful pair of shoes that was already all made. And it was made from the leather that he left there at night. How could this be? He went to his wife and said, "Look at these shoes. They're so beautiful. I don't know who made them." But he put them in the window, and immediately a rich man came in and bought the shoes. And yeah, like your shoes, that's right. You have shoes too. You think your shoes are made by a shoemaker? 2 shoes, yeah, those are, we have shoes and boots, and they are all very fancy. The shoemaker was ecstatic. He had enough money to buy more leather and food. And so he went out and he bought some shoes, he bought more leather, and again, he cut them out, cut out 2 pairs of shoes, and he laid them on his workbench. And then he went up and he had a nice dinner with his family. The next morning, he went down to the workshop again. Here's a picture of his shoes. See, I bet that's your pair right there. What do you think? Yeah. He went down and there were 2 beautiful pairs of shoes laid out there. Yes, he probably put hearts on some of his shoes too. This continued for many nights. He would lay the leather out on the workbench, and somehow in the morning, the shoes would be made. Now here's a picture of the shoemaker with people in his shop buying shoes. Looks pretty busy, doesn't it? Soon his shop was overcrowded with customers. He cut out many types of shoes. And his shoes, he prospered like never before, and he became more and more wealthy. As the shoemaker's wife sat one evening, the shoemaker said, "How in the world are those shoes being made?" His wife said, "We can hide in the cupboard behind your workbench and see." And that's just what they did. That evening, look at this here. Here's a picture of who showed up in the workroom. What do you think those are? What do you think those little fellows are? They're little elves. Have you guys ever heard of elves? Elves, that's right. You know what an elf is? He's a small person who sometimes helps people. And they were two tiny men, each with a bag of tools, were going up to the shoe leather and were stitching the leather in they were very quiet too, but they used such tiny stitches that they made beautiful shoes. But there was a problem. The poor elves were very poorly dressed. They had nothing on but raggedy pants and very poor tops. And this was before the age of when people deliberately ripped their pants. So raggedy pants were a sign of ill fortune. So the wife said to the shoemaker, these little fellows who have come here, we should make some clothes for them. Don't you think that'd be a good idea? Make some clothes for them? Yes. They left some good things out for the little men to eat. And they hid once more behind the cupboard and waited to see what would happen. Just as before, the elves appeared at the stroke of midnight. They jumped onto the bench to begin their work, but when they saw all their presents, they began to laugh and shout with glee. They tried on all the clothes. This is probably, I think you've been studying the elf dance.
I agree.
They started to eat the food and drink, and in fact, they didn't actually even make the shoes that night. They put on the clothes, and then they disappeared. After that, the shoemaker cut out his leather as he always had, but the two elves never returned. I believe they've heard us whispering, the wife said. Elves are very shy when they come to people. I know I will miss their help, said the shoemaker, but we will manage. And so they went on to have a good life. They never saw the elves again. But in this story, you see that if someone helps you out, you can help them out in return. And that's a good thing, especially if we're jumpy and bouncing up and down. And thank you very much for your kind attention.
Go round in peace, may the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
The joy of children.
Thank you, Paul. In this congregation, we have found it helpful to share the ups and downs of our lives, by the practice of taking a stone from a bowl, holding it in our hand, warming it, and expressing our thoughts of joy and or concern. Then placing the stone in the water so that the ripples of the water carry our joys and concerns out into the wider world. I will begin with taking a stone. And this one out. Is that?
No,
How about this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
not much though.
I am going to, I know that we are trying to help St. Francis House with the floats, and I don't know if you're aware of Julie Becker, who is the director of St. Francis House, lost her husband. I think within the last couple of weeks. And so, Julie, I just want to let you know that I'm thinking of you, and my thoughts and prayers go to you and your two children during this difficult time. Also, I'm also going to give one to my mom because she lost her husband in September, and what would have been their 49th wedding anniversary was on the 20th, and this will of course be her first Christmas without And so she's kind of going through a rough time too, so I just, Mom, I'm thinking of you always. And the one final one for my family who's coming from out of town, they made it safely, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone on Christmas Eve.
Just to remind you to don't forget the people of Ukraine who continue to have barbaric things done to them.
Good morning, my name is Sue Ann Lang. Terry and I are really fortunate this year. We started celebrating the holidays last night with a lot of food and all the things that go along with it. And this is going to continue for a whole week. So we would like to open our house up for, I don't know what you call it, an old-fashioned gathering on Christmas Day from 2 to, I don't know, whenever. Our address is in the book, or snag Terry or myself and we can give you the details. So if you have a moment, stop in for a glass of cider or whatever, and we get to celebrate for a week, because next week we're celebrating with our grandkids and their mother.
My father, too.
No. Okay.
I'm good.
I'll tell you a little story. My name's Chuck, by the way, Charles. And my wife and I both came from very poor families. We didn't have much. And my wife had very little at Christmas time. And she had a beautiful dress that her mother had bought for her. And she fell in the toilet with it, of course, because she was 3 years old. So that's a little story. But both of our fathers were really not there for us. But we found each other. And people had found money so we could go to university and college. Wasn't that wonderful, And when we finished, we moved around for a while, and we settled here in a little town called Hartford. Nice little house. We got help from the government to build it, like a lot of you. And we built the house, and the house got paid for, and we became middle class. Wasn't that wonderful, And we sent our daughter to college. She went to Middlebury. She became a success. And that was because we were successes. And we passed it on to our child. So I'm hoping that all of you will think about your children and pass on what you have to those children, because it's very important. And our daughter is coming tomorrow to spend a week with us, and we'll do Christmas together in our traditional way with crackers and cheese and fake wine, because I don't drink. I had that trouble for a while, but I'm okay now.
Thank you, Chuck, or Charles, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm now going to put in a final stone, symbolizing all of our joys and concerns left unsaid. And now if we could do a moment of reflection. Okay, let's move on to our second set of carols. that are listed, and they are gonna start with God rest you merry gentlemen and go through a little town of Bethlehem, and they're on your handout.
Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we are gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. In Bethlehem in Israel, the blessed babe was born, and laid within a manger upon this blessed morn. The which his mother Mary did nothing take in scorn. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. The Lord is come, let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and let nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ. While fields and floods, on hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, the sounding joy, the sounding joy, the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his wonders of his wonders of his wonders of his wonders, wonders of his love. How still we see thee lie, above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. Yet in the dark street shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight.
Okay, now I'd like to welcome up Paul and Joy, and they will be speaking about Christmas memories.
Thank you, Christine. Is my mic okay?
Yes.
All right, fine. My name is Joy. Paul and I have been members here, probably around 14 years. When we moved here about 15 years ago, we had been Unitarians, so we looked around for a UU church and found our church. Minister Allen asked Paul and me to share our Christmas or holiday memories at this time, because we are planning to move to Virginia, probably within the next year or year and a half, to be closer to our grandchild. So this might be the last time that we can share our holiday reflections with you, and I hope that you will share your holiday memories during our circle discussion after the service. Hopefully you will share those memories with us. As I recalled my past Christmas's experience, and I will say I was brought up in a Christian church, the First Congregational Church of Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. As I think about those memories, I've at first only focused on my happiest of memories. The traditions and the happy, wonderful smells, sights, and sounds of my normally happily run childhood just immediately came to mind. I ignored some of those less pleasant memories, but then as I probed deeper, I found some that were less pleasant. I remembered that the tasty holiday meals that I had with my relatives, all gathered around the big table, were sometimes followed by nightmares. I probably was too hot, you know, they had the heat up, and then I would fall asleep, and I would have nightmares. Maybe I ate too much, I don't know, but they were very, very scary. Some of the most scary nightmares of my entire childhood were after my Christmas meals. I just don't know why. You know, I thought about all the traditions of my family. My mother would always read Charles Dickens' A Christmas Story, and we would go to the candlelight service at church, and it was just beautiful, almost magical, mysterious. I thought about all the songs. I sang a lot. I was in choirs, our school choirs, concerts. Music was a very, very important part to me. I remember I always hoped that it would snow, just lightly, not too much, as we would leave the candlelight service on Christmas Eve. I would just like it to be the stroke of midnight. I would like it just to be lightly snowing. And often it did, and that's also very magical. I remembered all the words in the Christmas cards, the greetings about, you know, peace on earth, goodwill to men. I remembered the words of the hymns, and you know, we sang these Christian hymns in my church, of course. They were part of the tradition, and I would you know, remember the greetings that people would say even now. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All really, really good memories. But then I also remembered that sometimes I would go ice skating, and I love going ice skating in the snow, and I love drinking hot chocolate afterwards. Sometimes I would fall down. And one time I fell down on the ice and cracked my head, and I was out for 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, I could hardly breathe. And that was scary. That was scary. It made me realize I'm not totally invulnerable, even though as a 10-year-old child you want to think you are. I also remember that very, very dark time of year that we're just in right now, when I was first learning to read. And this was in the mid, well, probably the early 60s, I would say, with Sputnik going on and all sorts of scary things happening in the world, just like they are now. And I started to be able to read the headlines in the newspapers. And, you know, it was a dark time of year, and I was reading about, you know, who knows what was happening in outer space, and who knows what was happening here and there. It was always local crime reported in the newspapers. I was scared. It was like a little person just learning how to read and seeing those horrible headlines. And I can't imagine now it must be even easier with television and the internet. So I was very scared at this time of year also. It's a very dark, scary time of year. And I chose the reading, number 649, that responsive reading this morning by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, because as many of you know, I've studied Saint-Exupéry. I actually did one of my big papers on him. And his symbolism, his meaning, his symbolism in his novels, and in his probably most famous child's story, Le Petit Prince, The Little Prince. He actually wrote it in New York City, right, during the end of the Second World War, and then he went later on to, he was a pilot, he went later on to volunteer for the French Free Army, or I guess it was the Air Corps at that time, and was shot down. probably by a German plane in the Mediterranean. So I chose that reading because I admire him so much. And when he talked about the meaning, he says, quote, "We live not by things, but by the meanings of things." The stories, as Dan Ricci would say, the stories that we tell ourselves. We give our experiences meaning, we tell our own stories, and that is how we identify ourselves. That is how we find meaning in our life. So as I ponder my Christmas memories, I thought, well, what meaning? What meaning do my Christmas memories have for me? And what meaning do I give these traditions and practices of the holidays in this, the darkest season of the year? And even broadly, what meaning do I give to myself for attending this church or having any religious inclinations at all? And so, as I was preparing for this talk, I was looking at the words of that last song we just sang, "O Little Town of Bethlehem," and I was particularly struck by the words, quote, "The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight." And when I focused on that hopes and fears, it was like a revelation. It's just that says it all. I have come to think that we humans have developed religious practices and have survived on earth in many ways because of our religious practices, so that our fears and hopes can confront each other. And ideally, hope wins out over fear every time. I think that it's at its best, following religious traditions and practices allows us to overcome our fear through hope. And through calming and hopeful practices and traditions, it helps us to calm our fears and to strive for peaceful and positive states of mind and actions, the better to improve, to help to heal ourselves, others, and our planet. It helps us reach our highest aspirations. And this, to me, is the spirit and the meaning of Christmas. Dare I say, the value of religion for us as humans. This gift of faith, this belief that we humans, even when we are surrounded by darkness, when we have acknowledged our fears, our worst nightmares, we're constantly worrying, right? Our weaknesses and our inadequacies, even then, we can still think about our hopes to do better. And through our faith, our beliefs, and our highest aspirations, we can overcome these inadequacies through hope. I believe that this was what Jesus and many other great teachers have been teaching us humans for a long time. And having been a teacher myself, I know that most of us learn by repetition. And that's why I try to come to church every Sunday. I still have fears, and I'm not as hopeful as I would like to be. And coming to church helps me calm myself and remind myself of this. These meaningful, helpful, and hopeful practices and traditions comfort me and remind me what I truly value and make me better able to deal with my daily challenges. So this is a time when we celebrate the mystery of life. The fact that we are here is a miracle, in my opinion, and may it be so for you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, very nice message, Joy, thank you. So, I'm Paul, Joy and I are married, been here for 10 years, 12, 14 years, something like that. As Joy mentioned, we'll be transitioning from Sioux Falls over the next year, so I welcome this time to talk a bit about my memories. Christmas is, for most of us, a time of family. It's a consumer time, of course, although our family has moved away mostly from the crazy shopping stuff. Stores at midnight on Christmas Eve. Well, Mom did take me and the other kids to Zayre's, a discount department store in suburban Chicago on Christmas Eve back in 1969. Man, the ties were ugly. I bought a couple. Christmas is that time when your memory of your childhood Christmases are very powerful. When you were small, possibly still believing in magical elves and things like that, your memories do last when you first encountered these magical things of Christmas. For me, my memory for events is really terrible. I don't always remember specific events very well. I do remember sensory impressions. I remember smells and I remember tastes. À la recherche du temps perdu, The Search of Lost Time, the book by Proust, the French novelist, he begins with the taste, his memory of the taste of a cookie, the French cookie called the Madeleine. And tastes and smells may not linger, but when you taste them again, you go back to those times. My memories of Christmas always involve children. I'm kind of a very silly person about small children. I make silly faces and duck noises and stuff. This is due to my childhood training. I'm the eldest of 7. My youngest sibling is 15 years younger than I, so there was always a small person around to carry on my shoulders, read to, tickle, and amuse. And so this habit carried on to my own children and on to other children that I encounter. But for today, I'll talk just briefly about 1957 and 1958, back when this is probably before most of your grandparents were born. But I cast back to that time. I was 5. My father was 32, my mom was 30, and she already had 4 children. We were moving to Germany. Dad was a good photographer, so we have lots and lots of pictures. We have one picture showing all of us kids who could walk. There was one who was not walking at that point. We all had our suitcases on the airport tarmac, waiting to get on the plane. Back then you would have to walk out onto the tarmac, the concrete runways, and then you would walk up the stairs to the plane, and they came up with the jetway idea much later than that. We were going to Frankfurt, Germany. Dad was going to teach in the American Soldier Children's School, Amerikanische Soldaten Kinderschule, perhaps in German. Germans love to cram all kind of words together. There were schools for all the grades in Frankfurt. There was quite a large American contingency there. I began in kindergarten there. Living in Germany was great for my parents. It was very inexpensive as the dollar was very, very strong. Roughly 4 euros to the dollar. Today it's 1 euro to the dollar, and maybe even less. My mom could afford a maid. But more importantly, we had literally dozens of relatives in Frankfurt due to a family split of my mother's grandparents' family. One brother of her mother's grandparents' family stayed in Europe, and one brother with his family came to the U.S. And there are a lot of sad things about the family that stayed in Europe, but I don't have time to go into that now, and probably it would not be too interesting for most of you. But some of the stories about World War II that people have heard were those that happened to my in-laws, to my relatives as well. So, Christmas in Germany. Mom was really excited to go. She told me several times. Her mom was from Budapest, was born in Budapest, and came to the U.S. in 1922. Mom had never been to Europe, so this was really big for her to go to Europe and maybe see some of these people and encounter some of the things. My dad, on the other hand, had been in the American forces during World War II and had spent a year or thereabouts in Europe fighting against the Germans, mostly in Austria. He spoke German, Mom spoke German, and so they were very interested in spending a little time there. Mom was really looking forward to the Christmas trees. She thought that they would be beautiful trees with lovely colored lights, but she was kind of amazed. No internet. There, okay. That's right. Shorten up your talk. She wanted colored lights, but all the lights were white. In fact, some of the trees still had candles on them, not even electric. Germany was still recovering from the war. We have a lot of pictures of us going to some of the Christmas markets, which were a lot more, not as glitzy as they are today. Keine Glühwein for little Polly though. No Glühwein for me. At that time, it was hot chocolate, but I was only 6 or so and probably didn't really ask for the wine. They had a lot of things that the Germans did very well. Pressed paper mache bowls, cut out stars, little carved fellows that were called smokers. You would take them apart and put a little burning bit of incense in them, and it would come out their mouth as if they were smoking, which for a kid was really cool. I think it was 1958 that I remember, perhaps a bit more than some. We had Uncle Fritz Brausch. It's my mom's family, Brausch. He lived in Frankfurt. He was the barber of Torgau, which was a small town in Serbia that my relatives lived in. The story of the destruction of Torgau and other parts of the German diaspora is not particularly well known by Americans. He lived in Frankfurt, and he was a dapper man of about 70. We were going to Austria at Christmas time. Dad drove the VW microbus with Mom, Uncle Fritz, 4 small children, and a load of stuff for an orphanage in Austria. 3 things happened on that trip. First, as we had Uncle Fritz, we stopped in to see another Brausch family, the Butcher family, the Brausch Butcher family. We have great pictures of me and my brother and sister with our hands in the sausage, making the sausage. I don't remember really being grossed out. I thought it was pretty cool myself. Elbow deep in sausage preparation. Maybe we even got to eat them later. I don't remember. I do remember it was cold because central heating was not part of a lot of German houses at that time. We love those feather comforters, which were very warm in bed. You'd have to kind of warm them up. The second thing we did was we went to the Silent Night Chapel in Austria, very close to Salzburg. I have a recollection of this in a field of snow. I'm not sure if that's a good memory, because I think it was at night, but if you have a family with 4 small children, you're not, wandering around at night very often. You're putting them kids in bed. So that may not be a false memory. The final thing I remember is that we delivered our load of stuff to an orphanage. It was an unusual orphanage. It had a secret. The orphanage was with children who were from German women and black U.S. servicemen. And Germany at the end of World War II was very, very homogeneous. There were no persons of color there whatsoever. So these poor children were completely rejected by their families and were placed in orphanages. There were many of these children, thousands. I've come to find out that many of them were taken from Germany and placed with U.S. families who were black in this country to get those children into a happy home life situation. But even in 1958, there were many of these children there. I'm just hoping, I look back on that and I just hope that we brought to that orphanage, to those children, a little bit of something good for their Christmas time. It's very tough to be without your parents at that age. Most of them are my age, so if they're the ones who are still here are getting along in life. But just like when we contribute to our friends out in the Pine Ridge Reservation, you hope that your small contributions make a good thing for children. So Mom has passed. Mom passed in August, and I can't really ask her any more questions about this kind of thing. So my final recommendation is if you too have your parents with you, ask those questions now, because at some point they will be gone and you will not be able to. But Merry Christmas to everyone. Memories of Germany are still with me today.
offering will support the coat drive for St. Francis House. Okay, and we'll read the words to receive the offering together. We give
These gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of our congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for our planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, and loving one another.
We're going to sing our final set of carols. And when we do Silent Night, Joy and Paul are going to sing in French and German. And then when they're done, everybody's going to sing that in English. Thank you.
Star of wonder, star
Silent Night in German, the original language that it was written in. Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht, alles schläft, einsam wacht, nur das traute hochheilige Paar, ohne Nab im lockigen Haar, schlaf in himmlische Ruhe, schlaf in himmlische Ruhe.
Doucen nuit, sainte nuit, dans les cieux, l'astre luit, le mystère annoncé s'accomplit. Cet enfant sur la paille endormi, c'est l'amour infini, c'est l'amour infini. Silent night, holy night, all is strong, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, Son of God, lost their light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Jesus, Lord of thy birth, Jesus, Lord at thy birth.
We're gonna extinguish the chalice with the words of Bruce Connolly, and we'll read those together. May you draw strength from the holiday traditions of your past, hope from the changes you make for the present, and from both faith in your ability to handle the future. We're gonna have just a short cookies and coffee downstairs, and then we'll meet back here probably 11:25 for circle discussion. Thank you.
no surprises yet.
Yeah, we've been waiting to find it, but, well, I suppose like.
I have a real surprise.
The, that unrelated family birthday, we got a match. So we have stuff that, for the entire freaking family.
Well, you know, it's like, they're cozier.
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Just a minute.